Bodyweight training gives us so many avenues to express our upper body, but it can be uninspiring when it comes to the lower. It's easy to overlook the options, just go with weighted training or skip it entirely. Most bodyweight leg workouts just involve high reps, poor loading, and doesn't necessarily offer an obvious progression. Today, I've got a routine for you that I've essentially been using for the past few months to train with sufficient intensity, integrating flexibility into moving and building athleticism anywhere you are. Let's jump into it. First up, plyos, and this spring in the step is one of the biggest missing elements to people's lower body training, and it makes an excellent warm-up and tool for conditioning the lower leg. We've got a couple of stages to it, starting with leaping. This little segment, by the way, is inspired from a video I made with Angus Bradley a few months ago, which is from the work by Matt Watson plus plyos. If you're interested in that, I'll link it in the description down below. Leaping is our basic tier of plyos, basically bouncing along, striking with a full foot and popping off the toe. Start with your hands on your hips and do a couple of light sets, just jumping up and down and finding that spring. We're then going to follow that up with a couple of sets where you try to add a more medium effort, perhaps just incorporating that arms to help with the lift. So we don't want to be resting too long here. This is supposed to be a warm-up, supposed to get the blood pumping, so like 20-30 seconds, and then feel free to go again. Next, we want some higher intensity efforts. If you're new to this, you can stick to 2 legs and try changing some direction. This could be forwards with broad jumps. This could be up with squat jumps, or it could be a combination of the two. If you feel comfortable, you can try single leg options, starting with just hopping, progressively trying to lift the knee and jump higher. And again, you can implement that direction, forward, backwards, a mix of the two. This section is all about exposure. At the end of it, you should still feel pretty fresh, but warm and ready to do some strength work. For the strength, we're going to need to do some form of squat. It's an essential human movement, and it's going to give us the most bang for our buck. But if we're going to do bodyweight squats, then even hundreds aren't going to give us a great strength stimulus. So I guess we could half the amount of legs used. The obvious choice would be to do a pistol squat. But even then, these aren't my favorite. Instead, I prefer to use a shrimp squat. The key difference between the two is that the pistol squat better keeps your center of mass over your base of support, the feet. And it does this by using that assisting leg as a counterweight. The shrimp squat, in contrast, keeps that assisting leg behind the foot and forces the body to push and lean forward into that working leg. Whilst the mass of the body is the same, it feels harder because there is no passive stacking point in the bottom. We want to find an intensity that is hard for 5 to 8 reps per side. You can walk through these progressions, but with all of them, the key is to meet the knee to the ankle of the working foot. Work on reducing that assistance that you're going to be using, whether that's by your hands or by your back foot, as you get stronger over time, but always prioritizing a full range of motion. Ankle flexibility will be the biggest limiting factor here. So if you need, you can elevate the heel so you can get all the way down into that bottom position. If you want to take this to a brutal level, then you can go for deep shrimp squats, elevate the working leg so we have to reach deeper. And honestly, these are no joke. I've actually found that the last few weeks, doing this with a bit of assistance in front of me, like a table, helps me focus on pushing really hard with my first few reps and then using it to help me balance. And then as I fatigue, I can use a little bit of assistance to get more reps in. So that's the quads. Next up, we have the posterior chain. These are really the hardest to hit without weights, but I've got 2 great options for you that you're only going to need a ring strap for. First up is Nordics for the hamstrings. Really easy to set up if you have a bench or a table about, or somewhere you can wedge your feet under. You're going to loop the strap around the mid shin, and then you're just going to pad up the knees and underneath the strap as needed to feel really comfy. We're again looking for an intensity that we can do for a hard 5 to 8 repetitions. The progression here is about extending the torso. So we're going to start with a hinging variation where you want to keep the hips over the knees and lower the nose down to the floor. When lifting back up, we just want to make sure that we keep those hips forward and we don't push them backwards and move away from the tension. The goal over coming sessions is to progressively touch that nose a little bit further forward. This eventually leads us to the second progression, where we try to extend and move forward as much as we can into a razor curl, eventually trying to reach that full extended leg position, using the hands to assist if you need to get the reps in. Finally, this leads us to the full thing with negatives, just trying to keep that body as extended as you can do and lowering as slowly as possible. Again, you can use your hands to slow yourself down or bands to just bridge that gap between doing full reps. So that's the hamstrings. The second exercise is for the lower back, and that's with back extensions. This one does require a structurally sound table, but we're simply going to follow the same method as the Nordics. We're going to loop a strap and secure around that mid shin. Again, pad out, especially around the hip crease as needed, aligning that hip crease with the edge of the table. We're going to think about here lifting up by squeezing the glutes, driving them into the table, and then lifting the chest up high. You can do this one for reps, you can hold it for time, or you can do a mixture of the two. Honestly, back extensions are an amazing lower body conditioning drill at all levels, beginner to advanced, and can be done with pretty minimal setup. I've actually played around with a few different options in the past when training at home, and I'll give you some examples of that here if this one doesn't suit you. If you want to make it harder, try extending the lever by lifting the arm first behind the head, and then eventually moving them to a fully overhead position. Finally, let's finish up with an accessory for the quads and that flexibility component. And it's another form of a Nordic, but this time we're going to flip ourselves around. The main thing missing with that shrimp squat is that deep knee flexion position. So we're going to work on going as deep as we can do. As this is quite an intense position, we're going to want to use some assistance, whether that be an anchor of a band, a rope, or a towel in front of us. Think about squeezing the glutes to lock the hips in place and then just lean backwards, reaching the head towards the floor. If you can't quite touch the floor, place a target to reach for reference and then try reducing this right down over time. Once you have full range of motions, always the foundation to all of our exercises, you can begin to reduce the assistance as you get stronger. Listen, is weighted leg training going to be superior when it comes to developing strength? Probably. That being said, you know what is inferior? Doing nothing. If you're on holiday, if you're traveling, if you don't have access to a gym, this is a pretty bloody fantastic option for developing strength, flexibility, athleticism with basically zero equipment. That being said, I want to pass this one on to you. Is there a leg exercise that I miss? Something that you would add into this mix, and kind of what do you do for your lower body conditioning? Let me know in the comment section down below. Otherwise, if you enjoyed this one, please hit that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, join the tribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Have a strong week. Peace.